Manalangin po tayo. Dakilang Panginoon Diyos, may-ari ng sanlibutan, pinupuri namin ang iyong pangalan. Kami nagpapasalamat sa panalangin at gabay na ibinigay mo sa amin. Salamat sa panibagong araw na ipinagkaloob mo. Salamat din sa pagkakataon na ibinigay mo upang kami ay muling magtipon para sa panibagong kaalaman. Kami po ay humihiling na nawa po ay gabayan mo po kami sa aming pag-aaral at bigyan mo po kami ng makalangit na kaalaman at lakas upang kami ay matuto. At nawa po ang lahat ng aming matutunan ay magamit namin sa pagtulong sa aming kapwa. Patawarin mo po kami sa aming mga kasalanan at nawa po ang lahat ng aming gagawin ay maging alinsunod sa iyong kautusan. Ang lahat ng ito ay aming sinasamo sa ngalan ng aming Panginoong Hesus. Amen.
Good morning po sa lahat ng mga kadete nationwide from Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao, sa lahat po ng mga respectable deans, professors, lecturers, pati na po lahat po na magtitake ng criminologist licensure examination, sa lahat po ng mga estudyante natin, mga kadete, first year up to fourth year, welcome, welcome, welcome po sa Bikoyno. Magandang umaga po sa lahat. Ang Bikoyno po, mga kadete, isang platform po ito sa YouTube na nagbibigay ng libre, comprehensive, lahat ng discussion po natin, align na po yan sa latest table of specification. But I'd like to remind everyone mga instructors, ma'am and sir, dapat ang approach po natin sa pagtuturo holistic dapat di lang po tayo magiging obsessed sa table of specification because the criminologist licensure examination, may mga instances po na hindi po siya in accordance with the latest table of specification. Nagtanong po ako sa mga takers in the past criminologist licensure examination and they shared the same comment na may mga major areas po na hindi po naka-align yung mga tanong sa table of specification. For example, sa fingerprint nga, ang lumabas is only 2 or probably, lagay na lang natin 5 questions. Dapat dyan, 20 questions based on the TOS. So meaning, dapat ang approach natin mga ma'am and sir should be holistic. From the beginning po tayo, kahit hindi nakalagay sa TOS yung historical background, lagay na lang po natin. Okay? Sa mga kadete naman natin dyan, I'd like you to be convinced na we have to review in a holistic manner. Dapat din po, kung ano yung tinuturo ng mga professor po natin, i-review na lang po natin from the beginning up to the last. Wag po tayong magsushortcut. Sa lahat po ng mga tapulan in Bisaya, lazy, yung mga tamad dyan ng mga estudyante na magte-take ng board examination tapos mag-chat sa akin, sir, may Q&A ka ba, sir? Q&A lang po yung i-avail ko kasi importante naman dyan is Q&A. No, wag po kayo mag-shortcut Dapat po, doon muna kayo sa mga review materials yung nakasynthesize. Tapos, pagtapos ka na sa review materials na nakasynthesize, doon ka na sa Q&A. Ang purpose lang kasi ng Q&A is to gauge or to measure yung learning mo on the particular review or on the particular subject. Kaya huwag kayong maniwala dyan sa mga huling bulong na yan. Ay, nako, huling bulong. Nako, review centers do not know about what particular questions, specific questions that will come out in the board examination. So kayo maniwala sa huling bulong. Bakit ba ang huling bulong natin ilagay natin sa last minute of the board examination? Nako, pag magbigay kayo, yung mga review centers dyan pag magbigay kayo ng huling bulong, wag nyo pong ibigay yan hours or a day before the board examination. Kaya nga maraming mga takers natin inaantok nung nagtitake ng board examination kasi nga alas 11 na ng gabi nagpa-final coaching pa kayo. Nako, tapos gigising pa yan ng 3 o'clock. Pag take ng board examination, hindi nakapagkape. Ano nangyari? Nakatulog. Bagsak ngayon kasi pag kulang yung tulog yung brain natin, mag-malfunction yan. Kaya nga, sa mga review centers, pakiusap po. Yung mga last minute na yan, iwasan nyo na po yan. Huwag pong magbigay kayo ng last minute. If magbigay po kayo ng huling bulong as you dubbed it to be, or last minute as you label it to be, huwag nyo pong ibigay yan a day or hours before the board examination. Ibigay nyo po yan a week before the board exam. Okay? Pakiusap po ha. Kayo naman mga kadete dyan, huwag kayong dyan. Niluluto lang kayo sa sariling mantika nyo. Di ba? So, wag na kayo mag last minute. Dapat hindi yan last minute. Last week, dapat ang title niyan Last week tips or last week coaching. Dapat, hindi yung last minute. Kaya nga, inaantok Kasi, alas 12, yung iba alas 12, nag last minute pa. Tapos gigising 3 o'clock, ilang oras lang, natutulog ka, 3 hours. Yan nangyari. Sa brain mo, nag-malfunction kasi kulang ka sa tulog So, yan po ha. But anyway, sa mga estudyante po natin, shout out sa taga-Pangasinan. Ang dami pong nag-order ng books. Sa lahat po ng mga estudyante natin nationwide, ito ino-offer ko po sa inyo. Bicuino Review Material. Isa po itong libro containing 2 chapters. Unang chapter po niyan, yung Synthesized Review Materials. Naka-arrange na po yan sa per major area. 6 major areas po ang meron tayo. Pangalawang chapter po, yung question and answer portion. Okay? Pero again, huwag kayong dumiretso sa Q&A doon muna kayo sa first chapter. I tell you, marami na pong natulungan nito. Okay? Ang dami pong orders. So, if you want to grab a copy, may name pa ako, may pangalan ako sa video description dito. You can just chat me personally para makapag-agree po tayo kung COD ba yung mode of payment or yung details po na kailanganin ko para po makapag-ship ng libro. Okay? Mga kadete, yung mga proceeds po natin, yung revenue po na nakukuha po natin sa YouTube, yung hindi nag-skip ng ads, pati na po yung sa libro po natin, some of the amount po, tinutulong po natin yan sa mga nangangailangan po dito sa Negros Oriental, particularly on dialysis patients. Okay? Yung mga pobre po natin na mga mangingisda that are now on dialysis, wala po silang means of livelihood. Kaya po, nagbibigay po tayo ng ayuda, parang akap. Nagbibigay po tayo ng tulong po para po sa kanya. Hindi naman importante yung lahat ng bagay-bagay dito po sa mundo. At the end of the day, we will all die. All this wealth, recognition, and fame are for naught. Are very unnecessary in life. So, importante kung ano po yung nagawa po natin sa kapwa-tao. Okay? So, bumili na po kayo mga kadete ha. If you want to grab a copy, just give me a personal message. Alright? Now, without further ado, punta po tayo sa pinaka-last na topic sa specialized criminal investigation or specialized crime investigation with simulation of interview and interrogation. Unang topic po dito, Presidential Decree 1612. Okay? Or yung tinatawag nating anti-fencing law. Okay? Dalawang terms that we have to understand. Ano ba ibig sabihin ng fencing? Ang fencing is an act of, pagbili or buying. Okay? Pangalawa, yung pagtanggap. Bumili ka, or tumanggap ka, or possessing, or keeping, or pwede acquiring, pwede din pong concealing, pwede din pong selling, disposing, or dealing in any article or item, object, or anything of value that the person knows or should know has been derived from the proceeds of robbery or theft. To make it short, para mas understandable, it's either bumili ka, or ikaw yung nagbenta, or tumanggap ka, or nagpossess ka ng isang bagay that you know or you should know that it is a product or a proceed of theft or robbery. A very good example of this is yung bumili ka ng cellphone doon sa Colon Street sa Cebu City. Nako, Realme na cellphone. 500 pesos, nagtanong kasi ako 500 pesos, brand new yan 500 pesos. Tapos if you ask the person, ano ba yung proof mo that you are the owner thereof? Hindi siya makapagbigay ng proof na siya yung may-ari, talagang may-ari ng cellphone. So you should know. Based on common sense ba? Based on common sense, you should know that this cellphone is a product of probably robbery or theft. Pag bibilihin mo yan, nako, patay ka sa PD 1612. Okay? Pangalawang term, fence. Ang fence does not refer to parameter fence. It does not refer to parameter fence. It refers to a person. It could be a person, it could be an association, it could be a firm, a group, blah, 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 who commits the act of fencing. Para mas maintindihan, punta tayo diretso sa elements. Unang elemento dito, may nangyayaring theft or robbery. Diniscuss ko na po yung pagkakaiba sa theft and robbery sa second episode. Pangalawa, ang accused po, hindi siya principal, hindi din po siya accomplice sa theft or robbery. Siya yung nagbili, siya yung nagpossess, siya yung tumanggap, or siya yung nagbenta ng mga bagay-bagay that are actually proceeds of the robbery or theft. Okay? Pangatlo, the accused knows or should have known. Ibig sabihin ng the accused knows that the article or item is a product of theft or robbery. Ibig sabihin, alam mo po na itong bagay na ito na bininta sa'yo is actually a product of theft or robbery, pero binili mo pa rin. Kasi ang problema nito, yung price kasi is very attractive. Okay? So, bibilihin mo kasi mura lang yan eh. Pangalawa, should have known that the article or item is a product of theft or robbery. Ano ba ibig sabihin ng should have known? Again, ibig sabihin ng should have known, paggamit po ng sentido common. Common sense. Pag may nagbenta sa'yo ng motorcycle worth 3,000 pesos, pag may common sense ka, Brad, dapat alam mo that this motorcycle is a product of carnapping. Kasi nga po, yung taong nagbenta sa'yo cannot issue an OR or CR or any proof. It could be a document or anything. Any proof that will tell that he is really the owner. So, pag gamitin mo yung common sense mo, pag maghingi ka ngayon ng OR, sir, hindi siya makapagbigay. Brand new yung motor, bininta sa'yo, 3,000. Nako, imposible po. So, you will be thinking na ito talaga is a product of carnapping. Kaya nga, wag kayong bumili ng isang bagay na walang document that will prove that the person selling thereof is really the owner. Kasi pag, ito, nangyari ito eh. Motorcycle, bininta sa isang garbage collector, yung scavenger. Yung scavenger, pobre eh. Diba? Pobre yung scavenger. So, binili niya, 3,000. Nako, pag checkpoint, walang ORCR, o na-impound yung motorcycle. Ano pa investigation, yung HPG officer, nalaman niya na yung motorcycle pala na yun is nakaw. So, ang HPG, estudyante ko po ito sa Negros Oriental. So, yung HPG officer, nag-file ng kaso. Ang kaso is carnapping. Sino ba yung accused dito? Yung nagbenta sa scavenger, yung nagbenta sa garbage collector. So, ang garbage collector, hindi siya nag-file ng kaso laban sa garbage collector. Ang kaso po na pinal ng HPG is yung nagbenta. Yung nagbenta sa garbage collector. So, yun nga nangyari. Pagdating sa korte, the police officer was lambasted. He was being reprimanded by the judge. Sabi ng judge, bakit ka nag-file ng kaso against the seller only? Why did you not file a case against the one who received it, the one who buy it? So, anong nangyari? The court ordered the HPG to file a PD 1612 violation of anti-fencing law against the garbage collectors. Kawawa naman po. So, again, ibig sabihin ng should have known Ibig na should have known, hindi mo alam. But based on your common sense, you should come up to a conclusion that this is probably a proceed or a product of theft or robbery because the price the price does not coincide with the particular item that is being sold. So, motorcycle, ang original price niyan, 60 to 70 to 80 to 90, may mga 100,000 pa nga. Pero bininta sa iyo, bagong-bago, 3,000 lang. Pag hingi mo ng ORCR, hindi makapagbigay. So, ano ang dapat ang sentido common? Ano dapat ang nasa common sense mo? Common sense will dictate na ito is not a legit or a legal transaction, okay? Hindi po legal yung motorcycle na bininta po sa. Yun po ang ibig sabihin ng should have known, yung paggamit ng kukote po natin, yung common sense. Okay? Remember mga kaditi ha, sa anti-fencing po kasi, ang actual knowledge is not necessary. Take note ha, sa lahat ng takers ng board examination, ang actual knowledge is not necessary. Kahit hindi mo alam that this product is actually a proceed of theft and robbery, kahit hindi mo alam, pero binili mo, nako, patay ka. Violation ka sa PD 1612. Number 4, there is on the part of the accused intent to gain for himself or for another. Again, ang intent to gain dito should be present always as part of the elements of the crime of fencing. Okay? So, next. Dito ang mga sales invoices or receipts. The issuance of a sales invoice or receipt is already a proof of a legitimate transaction and may be raised as a defense in charge of fencing. So pag may resibo, may sales invoice, pwede mo po yang magagamit as an evidence to defend yourself in court. So, pag sabihin ngayon ng korte, you should have known. Probably you will defend yourself by saying, Your Honor, I have a proof of transaction. I have this receipt coming from this individual. So, it could help you escape from any criminal liability. Okay? Next, yung mga unlicensed dealer. Unlicensed dealer or supplier. For the purpose of PD 1612, lahat po ng mga tindahan, establishments, or entities dealing in the buy and sell of any good, article, item, object of anything of value obtained from an unlicensed dealer or supplier thereof shall, before offering the same for sale to the public, secure the necessary clearance or permit coming from the station commander of the PNP in a town or city kung saan po nakalocate yung tindahan or establishment. Okay? So, dapat po maghingi po tayo ng permit ha. Pero para po safe, dapat po lahat ng binibili po natin, lahat po ng mga objects or items na na-acquire po natin should be coming from a legit or licensed dealer or supplier. Para at least safe po tayo sa batas. Ha? Sunod! Possession of stolen property can be a prima facie evidence. Ano ba itong prima facie evidence, mga kadete? Prima facie evidence, ito po yung ebidensya that can stand alone. Okay? Stand alone evidence. For example, CCTV footage. A CCTV footage depicting a certain Juan de la Cruz taking the 5,000 pesos from the drawer of Maria. So, CCTV alone can convict Juan de la Cruz. It will tell that he was the guy who stole the money. So it can be a standalone evidence that could convict the accused. Okay? So ang possession of stolen property can be considered as a prima facie evidence of fencing. This means, mga kadete, that if a person is found in possession of any stolen goods, then it could be presumed that this person is involved in fencing. Unless, of course, proven otherwise. Okay? Unless, of course, proven otherwise. So, if you are in possession with something, kaya nga dito sa Negros Oriental, mga karite, common dito yung pagnakaw ng manok. Yung pangsabong ba? Okay? Pangsabong ng manok, ninakaw, bininta sa iba. Or there are a lot of instances dito po, mga kambing, livestock, yung kinukuha, ninanakaw. Okay? So, pag ikaw, bumili ka, there is no proof ownership of the one who's selling it, do not buy it. Kasi pag bumili ka in a very cheap price or any price at all, without inquiring on the identity of the owner, pwede ka pong maging liable ng Presidential Decree 1612. Okay? Next. Dito naman tayo, mga kaditi, sa laws on human trafficking. Okay? We have Republic Act 9208, which was amended by 10364. Kindly take note of the amendments. At the same time, expanded by Republic Act 11862. Okay, ito po yung batas, mga batas po that that were established for the purpose of eliminating trafficking in persons, especially yung mga bata at saka yung mga babae. Okay? So, take note ha, una, 9208 Anti-Trafficking in Persons Act of 2003 yan. Na-amend po siya by Republic Act 10364, tinatawag ang 10364 na Expanded Anti-Trafficking in Persons Act of 2012. Ang pinakabago po natin, RA 11862, the Expanded Anti-Trafficking in Persons Act of 2002. Memorize nyo na lang mga kadete yung mga batas po natin. Sa anti-human trafficking po, may ayakat po tayo. Isa po itong ahensya. The Interagency Council Against Trafficking. Ahensya po ito. Responsable po sa pag-coordinate, pag-monitor at saka yung pagtingin po sa implementasyon ng Anti-Trafficking in Persons Act. Now, ang ayakat po, ito po yung mga miyembro na agency. Okay? Una, yung chairman or chairperson po, manggagaling po yan sa Department of Justice. Ang co-chairperson niya is coming from the DSWD. Okay? So, yung iba nito, mga miyembro na yan, yung BI, Commission on Filipinos Overseas, Department of Foreign Affairs, Department of the Interior and Local Government, DOLE, Philippine Center for Transnational Crimes, Philippine Commission on Women, Philippine National Police, Philippine Overseas Employment Administration, at saka 3 representatives from NGOs or non-government organization. Ano bang purpose ng ayakat? Purpose ng ayakat po para po makapag-coordinate, ma-monitor at the same time to oversee yung pag-implement po ng Anti-Trafficking in Persons Act. Okay? So, ano ba ang definition ng trafficking in persons? This is also known as human trafficking. It's a crime that involves the exploitation of adults or children for labor or commercial sex. For short, a very good example of this one, let us say, yung bata pinahubad in front of the camera doing all these pornographic gestures. So that can be an act, a human trafficking act. Okay? Or probably yung isang worker dito sa Pilipinas, he was been promised that if he will go to abroad, pagdating sa abroad, magiging supervisor siya sa isang restaurant. Nako, pagdating doon sa abroad, hindi siya naging supervisor sa restaurant. Naging prostitute siya sa isang restaurant. Yung mga ganyan. So, it's basically human trafficking. Kasali na po dito mga kaditi ha, yung pinaka-common dyan, doon sa Luzon, yung binibinta po nila yung kidney. Okay, dalawa po yung kidneys po natin. Yung binibinta po yung, it could be a left or right kidney. Binibinta po for a considerable price. Again, sako pa din po yan sa human trafficking. Okay? Now, let's go to the elements. Okay, elements, 4 po na category sa elements of human trafficking. Una, dito tayo sa act or acts. Pwede siyang recruitment. Okay? Yung sabi ko kanina, ni-recruit mo. Pagdating doon, naging prostitute pala. Pwede din pong obtaining, or pwedeng hiring, pwedeng providing, pwedeng offering, pwedeng transportation, pwedeng transfer, pwedeng maintaining, harboring, or receipt of person. Yung pag-receive ng persons with or without the victim's consent or knowledge, within or cross-national borders. Ibig sabihin ng within, sa Pilipinas lang. Cross-national borders from Philippines to other countries. Okay? So, pwedeng pag-recruit ha, pwedeng pag-hire, pwedeng pag-offer, pwedeng pag-transport, pag-transfer, harboring, pag-receive, blah, blah, blah. Number 2, means of committing. Committed by the use of, una, pwedeng threat. Okay? Threat, or force, or other forms of coercion. Okay? Abduction, pwede din pong fraud. Ito, fraud and deception. Yung you promise him to become, that he will become a supervisor ng restaurant. Pagdating doon, hindi pala supervisor, prostitute pala. Abuse of power or position, taking advantage of the vulnerability of the person, or giving or receiving of payments or benefits to achieve the consent of a person, having control over another person. Anong example dyan? Sa pinaka-last na phrase. Let us say, for example, I'll give you 500,000. You have to give me your left kidney in exchange of the 500. Yung tao is pobre. Of course, that's one way of exploiting the vulnerability of the guy. Pobre nga eh. So, nangangailangan niya ng pera. So basically, he will be attracted with the 500,000 or 500,000 worth. So magbenta siya ngayon ng kidney. Again, pasok din po yan sa human trafficking. Number 3, ito yung exploitative purpose. Done for the purpose of pwedeng exploitation, ina-exploit mo. An example ng exploit, kahit hindi na siya naging prostitute doon, supervisor yung promise dito, pagdating doon, naging construction worker lang. So, still exploitation. Or prostitution of others or other form of sexual exploitation. Pwede forced labor or services. Ako, nangyayari ito. Di ba yung, yung anti-organized council po, yung anti-organized crime council po natin dito sa Pilipinas are actually monitoring this one. Kaya po, marami pong marami pong na-arrest dyan. Doon, pumunta doon sa Thailand. Pagdating doon, naging labor, naging worker, coerced worker, a worker that has been forced to work on a particular area. Iba yung promise sa Pilipinas. Pagdating doon, iba yung nangyari. Iba yung naging trabaho. Pwede mong involuntary servitude, slavery, or the removal or sale sale of organs. Human trafficking po, pasok. Okay? Sunod. 3 categories of trafficking in persons. Familiarize po natin. Una, acts of trafficking in persons. So, based on Section 4 in the Republic Act 9208 as amended, ito po ay nag-involve on various acts such as not limited to, yung sabi ko kanina, yung pag-recruit, pag-hire. Okay? It is usually committed by use of threat or force for the purpose of exploitation and prostitution. Okay? So, pwede din po yan ha. May mga pagkataon nga, there was even a particular news that I read online. It happened in Bohol na yung bata po, ina-exploit mismo ng mga magulang. Okay? Ina-exploit mismo ng mga magulang to strip naked in front of the camera and earn something from that gesture. So, it's very sad, right? It's very sad. Acts that promote trafficking in persons, ito yung pangalawa. This includes all acts that encourages or facilitates trafficking in persons. Pwedeng through flyers or through advertisements, kahit ano. Number 3, qualified trafficking in persons. Ito, lumabas ito sa board examination, itong qualified trafficking in persons. Pag ang traffic or ang biktima, ganito na lang, pag ang biktima ay isang minor, qualified trafficking in persons po ang i-file. Then, pangalawa, traffic person is a person with disability. Membro siya ng PWD. Ang ikaso po, qualified trafficking in persons. Pangatlo, traffic person suffered mental or emotional disorder. Nagiging buang siya o nagiging depressed siya. Suffering from any psychological or emotional disorder. Qualified trafficking in persons. Or, when the crime has resulted in pregnancy. Pag nabuntis po yung biktima, nako, ang ano dito is qualified trafficking in persons din po. Okay? So, in the case, by the way mga kadete ha, in Republic Act 9344, yung definition po natin ng minor or your child is below 18 years old. Di ba? 17 years old and below yan. Kuha po, 17 years old and below. Kasi yung 17, yun po ang below 18. Yun po ang below 18. Based on Republic Act 9344. Pero, tandaan po natin ha, na in the case of overseas domestic work, nagtatrabaho ka, let us say, domestic worker, nag-DH ka, okay, nag-DH ka doon sa ibang bansa, ang bata po o yung child po shall mean those persons below 24 years old. I repeat, sa batas natin, Republic Act 9344, ang mga bata po, ito yung mga below 18. Pero pag ang isang tao, mag-abroad siya, working in a domestic particular job, right? Domestic worker siya doon. So, in that case, ang definition po, basta mag-abroad ha, ang bata po shall be those persons below 24. So, pag ang edad mo is 23, bata ka pa. Nag-abroad ka, bata ka pa. 22, bata ka pa. Based on the definition of the law. Alright? Sunod. Attempted trafficking in persons. When there are acts to initiate the commission of a trafficking offense, but the offender failed to or did not execute all the elements of the crime by accident or by reason of some cause other than voluntary desistance. Okay? Other than voluntary desistance. Let's say, for example, binenta yung kidney for the price of 500,000. Pero you have been caught. Right? Well, it will fall under attempted trafficking in persons. Pero hindi kasali dito yung voluntary desistance. Ano ibig sabihin ng voluntary desistance? Yung biktima refused in the process. Yung una, nag-accept siya, pero when the surgery is about to be performed, nag-refuse siya to participate. So that's voluntary. Other than voluntary, hindi kasali. Pero pag you have been caught selling or you have been caught in the middle of the operation, in the price of 500,000 para makapagbigay ka ng kidney, nako, pasok ito sa attempted trafficking in persons. As such, an attempt to commit any of the offense mentioned in the preceding paragraph shall constitute attempted trafficking in persons. Okay? Next, if the victim is a child, any of the following acts shall be deemed as attempted trafficking in persons. Una, facilitating the travel of a child who travels alone to a foreign country or territory without valid reason and without the required clearance or permit from the Department of Social Welfare Development or written permission from the child's parent or legal guardian. Pwede po yan. Pag nag-facilitate ka sa travel ng isang bata, siya lang mag-isa, papuntang foreign country. Walang rason, walang valid reason. Wala din pong permit coming from the DSWD. Ikaw yung nag-facilitate, pwede ka po attempted trafficking in persons. Pangalawa, executing for a consideration an affidavit of consent or a written consent for, ito, napaka-common ito dumating dito sa Pilipinas, Monday. Bumalik, nag-process, bumili ng ticket para bumalik doon sa United States of America, Friday. Nung pumunta sa Pilipinas, walang anak. Pagbalik doon, pagdating sa airport, may anak na. Ay, nako. Yung lahat po ng mga magulang who will execute an affidavit or consent or a written consent for the adoption, whether we like it or not, nangyayari po ito sa lipunan po natin, binibinta yung mga bata po nila. May iba nga dyan, tinatapon lang Yung ba, bininta. It's very sad, right? It's so sad. Recruiting a woman to bear a child for the purpose of selling the child. Siguro ito yung mga taong halangang bituka, no? Grabe. Mag-recruit ka ng isang babae, para yung babae na yan, maging pregnant siya, pag nakapag-anak na yung babae, connivance kayo, ibenta yung bata. Ay, nako. It's a very demonic act. Letter D, simulating a birth for the purpose of selling a child or soliciting a child and acquiring the custody through any means from among hospitals, clinics, nurseries, daycare centers, refugee or evacuation centers, and low-income families for the purpose of selling the child. It's still, again, part under attempted trafficking in person. Okay? So, yun po, mga kadete. But again, this happened in real life. When is trafficking considered a large scale or committed by a syndicate? Okay? Dito sa trafficking in persons, pag syndicate po ang definition po natin, carried out by at least 3 persons at least, or more persons conspiring or confederating with another. It is deemed large-scale if committed again, 3 or more persons individually or as a group. So, magiging large-scale po ang human trafficking or committed siya as by a syndicate pag ang involved po is 3 or marami pa. Sunod, what is the prescriptive period for filing of cases? Trafficking cases can be filed within 10 years after they are committed. Ito yung tinatawag nating prescription of crime. Ano ba yung pagkakaiba ng prescription of crime and prescription of penalties? Sa lahat po ng mag-take ng board examination, ganito po ha. Pag prescription of crime, ito po yung allowable time. Allowable time for the complainant to file his complaint before the prosecution office. For short, let us say for example, for rape case, nangyayari siya year 2000. Bibigyan ka ngayon ng 20 years para makapag-file ka ng kaso. After 20 years, pag di ka nakapag-file or nag-file ka pero lapse na yung 20 years, nako, wala ng criminal liability yan. Kasi yung prescription nag-expire na. On the case of human trafficking, 10 years yan. Yung prescription of penalty, iba po yan. It is the loss or forfeiture of the right of the state to punish a particular individual after a lapse of a period prescribed by the law. Ano ibig sabihin dyan? Pag nahatulan na po, tapos nakapag-eskapo siya, let's say, nahatulan siya to serve 5 years, pero nakapag-eskapo siya, within 5 years, he was into hiding. Well, yung hiding niya po is already his punishment. Pagbalik niya ngayon sa community after 5 years, there is no more criminal liability. Pero pag wanted ka pa lang, hindi ka pa convicted, hindi yan mag-a-apply sa'yo. Kasi yung prescription of penalty, nag-a-apply lang po yan doon po sa mga convicted individual. If trafficking is committed by a syndicate or on a large scale or against a child, cases can be filed within 20 years. Take note ha, pag large scale siya or bata yung biktima, pwedeng mag-i-increase yan from 10 years, magiging 20 years na yung prescription of crime. So pwede ka makapag-file within 20 years. The prescriptive period is counted from the day the traffic person is delivered or released from the conditions of bondage. For short, pwede yung counting, yung yung pag-perpetuate ng trafficking in persons or yung pagkuha mo ng freedom. You have been released from the perpetrator. Pwede din po yan. Mag-start ka ng counting of the prescriptive period of the crime. Alright? Does the law provide extraterritorial jurisdiction on acts committed outside the Philippines? Ano ibig sabihin ng extra? Extra mga kadete, ibig sabihin dyan, outside. Pag extraterritorial, ibig sabihin outside the territorial jurisdiction. So, ito ha, ang sagot dito, the state shall exercise jurisdiction over trafficking acts committed outside the Philippines and whether or not such act or acts constitute an offense at the place or commission, the crime being a continuing offense having been commenced in the Philippines and other elements committed in another country. Ibig sabihin, pwede po mag-a-apply. Napakasimple lang yan. Pwede po mag-a-apply yung batas po natin in other countries in terms of human trafficking. Let us say, for example, ang isang tao, promise maging supervisor doon ka sa Thailand. Pagdating doon sa Thailand, nako, naging prostitute pala sa isang restaurant. Ang tanong ngayon, will our laws apply to Thailand? The answer is yes, kasi nga po human trafficking yan. Or probably isang bata, tinatransport doon po sa Amerika. Will our law apply in America in as far as human trafficking is concerned? The answer is yes, because our law provide extraterritorial jurisdiction over human trafficking. Okay? Napakaklaro. Alright? What are the mandatory services available for trafficked persons under the Anti-Human Trafficking Act? Una, libre temporary housing and food facilities. Pangalawa, may counseling and other psychological support. Libre ang legal services, pati na po yung medical or psychological services. The victim will undergo a livelihood and skills training. May libre din pong educational assistance para sa mga batang biktima. Then 24-hour call center for crisis calls and technology-based counseling and referral system. Ito po yung mga mandatory services na marireceive ng isang biktima. Okay? So, yung human trafficking po is very common in the Philippines. Okay? So, mga kadete, mag-divert po tayo. Punta tayo sa money laundering. Okay? Money laundering na po tayo ha. Tapos na tayo sa PD 1612, human trafficking. Dito naman tayo sa money laundering. Ano ba itong money laundering? From the word launder. Ibig sabihin ng launder, nilaban mo. Anong purpose? Bakit kailangang labhan yung damit ng isang tao? In order to make the clothing clean. To make it clean again. In the same manner, the purpose of money laundering is to make the money clean. To make it appear that money is no longer dirty. Kuha niyo po? Ibig sabihin, labhan mo ang pera, not literal na paglaba ha. You need to put the money in a particular process so that dirty money becomes a clean, a legal, legit money. O yun pa ibig sabihin dyan ng money laundering. O sa definition na OA definition, ito po. OA definition. Ang pinaka-OA na definition is the criminal practice of processing ill-gotten gains or dirty money through a series of transactions. In this way, the funds are clean so that they appear to be proceeds from legal activities. For short, it's very simple mga kadeta, nilabhan mo. Ano yung paano? Ibig sabihin ng nilabhan? You undergo a particular process in order for that dirty money to become a clean and legit money. Okay? So, money laundering offense, para mas maintindihan pa po natin. Money laundering is a crime whereby the proceeds of an unlawful activity as herein defined are transacted, thereby making them appear to have originated from legitimate sources. It is committed by the following. Una, in a person knowing that any monetary instrument or property represents, involves, or relates to the proceeds of any unlawful activity, transacts or attempts to transact the said monetary instrument or property. Okay? So, let us say, for example, sa mga government officials natin, shout out po sa inyo. Nung hindi pa ka pa politician, yung bahay mo, bungalow lang, Brad. Pero nung naging mayor ka na ng isang municipality, nako, bumili ka ngayon ng Hilux, 10 Hilux ang binili mo. Nakapag-income ka ng marami. Napakaliit lang ng ira, pero nakapag-income ka ng marami. So, yung pera mo na nakukuha from an illegal source, if you transact it or you attempt to transact such money, it will fall under money laundering offense. Okay? It is an offense under the Money Laundering Act. Sunod, any person knowing that any monetary instrument or property involves the proceeds of any unlawful activity performs or fails to perform any act as a result of which he facilitates the offense of money laundering. Ano ibig sabihin dyan? Ito, napakasimple. Ang liable nito yung mga bangko. Okay? So, let us say mga kadete, nakapagbinta ka ng shabu. Ang trabaho mo is SSS. Ano ba SSS? Sa Bisaya, sigig suroy-suroy. In Tagalog, mga kadete, tambay ba? Tambay ka. Tambay ka, but you are gaining an income, let us say, 100,000 pesos a day. Imagine, 100,000 pesos a day. So, the 100,000 pesos a day is actually a product of the drug transaction. So the money that you got from the drug transaction is not a clean money. It is a dirty money. Now, i-deposit mo yan doon sa bangko. Di ba, Brad? Kasi baka pag nakawan ka i-deposit mo yan. Ikaw na nasa bangko, kahit alam mo that this person has no job, hindi ka nag-inquire kung saan galing yung pera. Let's say, for straight, nakapag-deposit siya ng 5 million. You do not investigate, you do not inquire as to the source of the money. Or probably, you know that the source of money is coming from the drug transaction, but you fail to report it to the authorities, ikaw will be considered as a facilitator. Kuha niyo po? Magiging facilitator ka, alam mo Alam mo. Or hindi ka nag-perform, hindi mo inalam. Imagine, hindi ka ba magtaka? Ang trabaho niya, SSS, sigig suroy-suroy. Tapos nakapag-income 100,000 or probably in 1 week nakapag-deposit ng straight 5 million. Hindi ka man lang nag-inquire. So, if you fail to perform or you know that this is an illegal money but still you perform the transaction, ay nako, magiging facilitator ka ng money laundering. Patay ka ngayon sa batas. Sunod, any person knowing that any monetary instrument or property is required under this act to be disclosed and filed with the Anti-Money Laundering Council fails to do so. So same din. Okay? Pareho lang din po. Taylor, or you are a bank employee and then you do not disclose the particular monetary value or you do not disclose the particular property that it is a product of money laundering. You did not disclose it with the AMLAC or the Anti-Money Laundering Council. Okay? Yung mga politicians kasi natin, nagiging dato, nagiging mayaman pag nagiging mayor, nakapag-hold ng position. From being a bungalow, nagiging 5-story building na yung bahay. So, AMLAC can take a look at it and will say, saan po galing yung mga pera mo? Remember, ang late-late ng era, late-late ng sweldo ng isang mayor. Pero, nako, kaya nga, daming mga tao nagpapatayan para maging mayor, para maging congressman, para maging governor. Ay, nako, kahit maging governor ka, kung magiging presidente ka ng Pilipinas, Choy, at the end of the day, we will meet the same ending. And the ending is 6 feet below the ground. You will not bring anything in your grave. Nothing. Yung mga reputation, yung mga hambog-hambog dyan, ng mga review lecturers. Pasintabi na po. Lahat ng mga hambog-hambog, mga hambog na mga review lecturers na sila lang yung magaling. Na lahat ng mga tips sa last minute coaching ko, no? Lumabas lahat. Ano kayo? Superman? Propeta kayo? Na alam nyo lahat ng question? Ay, nako. Huwag kayong maniwala dyan. Magbasa kayo. So, alright? We have AMLAC, mga kadete, or yung AMLC, Anti-Money Laundering Council. Ito yung intelligence unit, isang ehensya po. An intelligence unit, siya po yung mag-i-implement. At the same time, mag-gather ng intelligence information. At the same time, siya yung mag-perform sa lahat po ng functions or provisions ng anti-money laundering law. Okay? Siya po ang mag-implement dyan. Ang AMLAC po plays a crucial role in the country's effort to combat money laundering and terrorist financing. Kasi po nga po, pag ano po ang gagawin para makapasok yung pera po from, let us say, from the Middle East? Ano ba ang gagawin para makapasok yung pera sa Middle East papuntang Mindanao para makapag-operate ang ISIS? So, it's going to be wire transaction. So, ang trabaho, in order to monitor kung ang wire transaction ba is something that violates the anti-money laundering law, trabaho po yan ng AMLAC. Okay? Kasali dito yung mga pawn shop, lahat po ng mga pawn shop, banks, even casinos, lahat po, sinusupervise po yan ng AMLAC. Okay? Ang AMLAC po is investigative and prosecutorial powers. Investigation, at the same time, pwede siya makapag-prosecute. This unique combination allows the AMLAC to conduct thorough investigation into suspicious transactions and prosecute individuals and entities involved in money laundering activities. This dual role significantly enhances the effectiveness of the AMLAC in curbing financial crimes. Pwede siyang mag-investigate at the same time mag-prosecute. Dalawa yung function niya, investigation and prosecutorial power. Yung sa AMLAC po. Next, structure and functions of the AMLAC. It is composed of the BSP governor, yung governor ng Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas, siya po yung chairman. At the same time, the insurance commissioner and the chairman of the Securities and Exchange Commission. Kasali po sila sa AMLC. The structure ensures that the AMLAC benefits from the expertise and resources of the country's top financial regulatory bodies. The council is supported by a secretariat headed by the executive director, which handles the day-to-day operations and investigations. Okay? Now, para mas maintindihan natin kung ano itong money laundering, ganito po ay, sabi ko kanina, sa money laundering, yung dirty money, nilaban mo. You undergo a process in order for the money will become clean to make it appear that it is coming from a legal source. So, para mas maintindihan, ganito po may mga stages tayo sa money laundering. Okay? Ang stages po natin, itong tinatawag natin, una, placement. Pangalawa, yung placement. Pangalawa, yung layering. Pangatlo, yung integration. Intindihin po natin, mga kadete, isa-isa. Sa placement po, ito po yung pinakauna. The first and the most vulnerable stage of the laundering money. The goal is to introduce the unlawful proceeds into the financial system without attracting the attention of financial institution or law enforcement. Dapat hindi ma-attract yung attention. So, what will you do? Techniques include structuring currency deposits in amounts to evade reporting requirements or commingling currency deposits of legal and illegal enterprises. Ano ang gagawin? Yung isang, let's say, 1 million, dinidivide mo into certain amounts para hindi klaro. So, nilagyan ko po ng examples para mas maintindihan. Dividing large amounts of currency into less conspicuous smaller sums that are deposited directly into a bank account. So, let us say you have 1 million pesos. In a day, magdi-deposit ka. In order that the 1 million amount of money would not create attention coming from the bank, you have to divide it. You have to break it into smaller amounts, right? Let us say, magdi-deposit ka ng worth 50,000 sa BPI. Yung another 50,000, doon ka mag-deposit sa Land Bank. Another 50, doon ka sa Maybank. Ang daming bangko po natin. Yung another 50, doon mo i-deposit sa cooperative nyo. So, basically, you break it into smaller amounts. So, it would not catch an attention. Part po yan sa stage na placement. Or another example, depositing a refund check from a canceled vacation package or insurance policy. Nag-avail ka ng insurance policy or probably nag-avail ka ng isang promo vacation package and let us say, nag-exceed yung amount mo or nag-cancel ka tapos na-refund. So basically, you will go to the bank and you will say, this is a refund, check, blah, 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 from this and that. And it will not cause suspicion on the part of the bank. Kasi alam nila, what will be the line of thinking is that galing ito sa canceled, blah, blah, blah. Okay? Pangatlo, purchasing a series of monetary instruments, for example, cashier's checks or money orders that are then collected and deposited into accounts at another location or financial institution. Pwede ka po mag-deposit sa Cebu, doon ka mag-deposit in other institution. Pwede din po yan as a way of concealing that the money is actually illegal. So, basically, to make it more understandable, sa placement, it's moving away the money from the source. Ano yung source? Yung illegal na activity mo. As much as possible, you move it away from the illegal source. Okay? Yung iba sa Pilipinas, may pera sila and their money is coming from illegal source. What they usually do is to change the currency from peso into dollar. So, doon sila, mag-offshore account sila, doon sila sa, probably in America, kino-convert nila yung peso into a dollar currency. So, it's another strategy po sa placement. So, anong purpose ng placement? You move away the money from the particular illegal source. Okay? So, nakalagay na po yung mga examples dyan, ha? Pangalawa, pagkatapos ng placement, pangalawang stage po, itong tinatawag nating layering. It involves moving funds around the financial system, often in a complex series of transactions to create confusion and complicate the paper trail. For short, ang layering po is basically disguising the trail. Ano ibig sabihin ng disguising the trail? For example, what is the first way of disguising that a money comes from an illegal source? Una pong pag-disguise po natin, let us say, nanggaling po siya sa refund. Refund check po siya from a canceled vacation. So probably, from the canceled vacation na cheque, probably you get the amount and then you maybe second process mo, you break the amount into smaller amounts and deposit it in other banks. I repeat mga kadete ha, the more disguises that you will be doing, the lesser the probability that you will be caught. Okay? Let us say, for example, exchanging monetary instruments for larger or smaller amounts, or probably wiring or I will concentrate on the second one, wiring or transferring funds to and through numerous accounts in one or more financial institution. Sa placement, let us say for example, example lang ha, you got 1 million pesos in a day coming from a drug transaction. Sa placement mo po, let us say, you get you break the amount, you break the 1 million and deposit it from to certain banks. 50,000 to BPI, 50,000 to Maybank, 50,000 to Land Bank, 50,000 to any institutions. So basically, that will not catch an attention. And after that, from BPI, transfer mo yung amount from BPI to your cooperative bank. And from cooperative bank, gumawa ka na naman ng ibang disguise. From your cooperative bank, transfer mo ulit yung amount to your GCash. And from your GCash, transfer mo ulit doon sa another bank. So, it's a lot of disguises that you are doing. Pag napakaraming disguises na ginawa mo, mas liliit po yung probability that you will be catch. Nakuha mo po? So, yun po ang tawag. Ang tawag po sa stage na yan is layering. Pag isa lang yung disguise mo, more probability ka that you will be caught. Pero pag transfer mo yung pera, pag deposit mo sa BPI, kinuha mo naman, transfer mo sa PNB, from PNB, doon ka na sa cooperative bank mo, from your cooperative, transfer mo naman sa ibang bangko. So basically, that will create a lot of disguises. Now, pagtapos ka na sa layering, ang pera mo po maging clean na yan. So pupunta ka ngayon sa third stage, itong integration. In integration, the ultimate goal of the money laundering process po, one of the funds are in the financial system and insulated through the layering stage. The integration stage is used to create the appearance of a legality through additional transactions. These transactions further shield the criminal from a recorded connection to the funds by providing a believable explanation for the source of the funds. So basically, tapos ka na sa layering, kukunin mo na yung pera from certain banks where you deposit the amount, and then you integrate it on a legal, legit, particular business. Probably, mag-purchase ka ng real estate, or you mag-invest ka sa securities, or probably foreign trust or other assets. For short, ang integrations po, ang integration na stage is making the funds available for legal purposes. So pag may business ka, let's say yung business mo is gasoline station. So ini-invest mo doon sa gasoline station, yung pera, ini-integrate mo. So yun po mga kadete, ang 3 stages of money laundering starting from placement, layering, and integration. Okay? I hope naintindihan po. Ito yung mga covered institutions sa money laundering law po natin. Yung BSP, Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas, lahat ng bangko, insurance companies, and entities dealing in securities and commodities. Like for example, Palawan Pawn Shop, Imlo Willier, kasali po sila sa covered institution. Pati na po yung mga insurance commission and the Security and Exchange Commission or the SEC. Covered transaction na pwede pong maka-flag or pwedeng makapag-intervene yung AMLAC. Ang transaction exceeding 4 million within 5 consecutive banking days. And these funds are found to be unrelated to a lawful business or financial activities. So, covered po siya. You will be under investigation pag nakapag-deposit ka ng above 4 million, ha? 5 consecutive days. Grabe. Monetary instruments, kasali dito yung currency po natin in peso or in dollar. mga cheque, drafts, securities, and other similar instruments. Unlawful activities, it would mean any law, any crimes listed under our Philippine laws. For example, yung pera na nakukuha sa kidnapping for ransom, drug offenses, corruption, and so on and so forth. Sa jurisdiction naman mga kadete, pag corruption yan, from a public official, ang may jurisdiction dyan is Sandigan Bayan. Okay? Ang ombudsman, siya yung maging prosecutor dyan. Okay? So pag corruption na ng public official, Sandigan Bayan ang bagsak. Pero pag, pag private naman, let's say for example, amount obtained through drug transaction, doon lang po tayo sa Regional Trial Court. Okay? So again, ang AMLAC, siya po yung mag-oversee the compliance with the anti-money laundering law, receive and act on covered transaction reports, and enforce actions like pwedeng i-freeze yung asset. Ano ibig sabihin ng freezing of asset? Pag na-freeze yung asset mo sa bangko, hindi ka pwedeng mag-deposit, hindi ka pwedeng mag-withdraw. You cannot touch anything. Pag freeze po yung asset. Related to unlawful activities. Next, reporting and record keeping. Covered institutions must verify and maintain records of client identities and transactions and report covered transactions to the AMLC. Kaya mga kadete, let us say, nagpadala ng pera, let us say 200,000 from United States of America, doon pinadala sa Palawan, you will still be questioned. Dapat ma-establish yung identity mo. Dapat ma-establish din po na legal yung transaction in order to avoid any liability from the AMLC. Okay? Sunod, freeze orders. AMLC or the AMLAC can issue freeze orders on accounts suspected of being related to unlawful activities, effective, immediately, and lasting. O ito, lumabas ito sa board examination. 15 days without court order. 15 days lang po. Extendable upon court approval. Pwede siya ma-extend pag may court approval na. Pero pag walang court approval, 15 days lang po yan. Bank inquiries. AMLC may inquire into bank deposits related to money laundering with or without a court order depending on the severity of the offense. Ito kasi may bank secrecy law kasi tayo. Pero pwede po ng AMLC or yung AMLAC makapag-inquire sa pera mo po sa bangko. So long as it is related to money laundering. Pero pag hindi naman related yan sa money laundering, the AMLAC will be prohibited kasi may bank secrecy tayo. Pero pag related yan sa money laundering, they can actually inquire without a court order. Kahit walang court order, pwede sila makapag-inquire. Forfeiture. Assets involved in money laundering can be seized and forfeited. If assets cannot be located or valued, the court may order payment equivalent to their value. Legal protections and penalties. Penalties for money laundering include imprisonment and fines depending on the severity of involvement, protection for reporting entities, legal safeguards for entities and individuals who report covered transactions in good faith. So, pwede po nakapag-report tayo doon sa AMLC in good faith about any kind of illegal transactions that may relate to money laundering, may mga safeguards po tayo, legal safeguards na pwede po tayong maging walang liability at all. Okay? Next, Republic Act 9194. Ito yung isa sa nag-amend sa anti-money laundering law. Ang 9194 po, strengthened the Anti-Money Laundering Act of 2001. It broadens the definition of money laundering, covering more financial crimes. Okay? Also, in 9194, it enhanced the reporting requirements for suspicious transactions. It also mandated the establishment of the Anti-Money Laundering Council. Okay, yung anti-money AMLAC na-create po siya through 9194 with broader powers to investigate and prosecute money laundering cases. So, ano ba ibig sabihin ng suspicious transaction? Okay? Any kind of transaction with an institution, regardless of the amount, where any of the following circumstances may appear. O na, there is no underlying legal or trade obligation, purpose, or economic justification. Ano ibig sabihin dyan? You cannot justify that this money comes from this and that. Bakit ka nakapag-deposit ng 50,000 or 100,000? Nakatambay ka lang. Wala kang trabaho. Or mangingisda ka lang, nakaka-deposit ka ng 100,000 per day. Pero wala ka namang big boat, big fishing boat. Yung sa'yo is bangka lang, nagpapaddle ka lang. So, pwede din po yan. It's a suspicious transaction. Pangalawa, the client is not properly identified. Anong ibig sabihin dyan? Dapat po ma-identify kung anong trabaho mo, basically. So, if you will just pop out into the bank, you will be subjected to suspicion. Pero pag alam na ng isang teller that you are the owner of a certain mall and you deposit this particular amount, identified ka na eh. So, that will not arouse suspicion. Pero ikaw, baguhan ka pa lang, pumunta ka doon, deposit ka ng malaking amount, di ka identified, they will create suspicion. Pangatlo, the amount involved is not commensurate with the business or financial capacity of the client. Yun nga po, similar yan sa number 1. Hindi ka makapag-justify. Ang late-late ng trabaho mo, pero nakapag-deposit ka ng malaking pera. Taking into account all known circumstances, it may be perceived that the client's transaction is structured in order to avoid being the subject of reporting requirements under the Act. Let's say, for example, you break the amounts into smaller amounts. So, if they can suspect it, then you might be held under investigation. In a circumstance relating to the transaction which is observed to deviate from the profile of the client and or the client's past transactions with a covered institution. Yung una, deposit mo is only 1,000 per day. Pero na-surprise yung bank kasi after a month of depositing 1,000 per day, nagiging 100,000 per day na. The transaction is in any way related to an unlawful activity or offense. That's very understandable. Any transaction that is similar or analogous to any of the above mentioned. Okay? Next, in Republic Act number 10167, which also amended the anti-money laundering, it strengthened anti-money laundering efforts. So, ang key amendments po dito, yung pag-freeze po ng mga assets, The Anti-Money Laundering Council can request the Court of Appeals to freeze assets suspected of being linked to unlawful activities. Okay? Only the Supreme Court can issue order against a freeze order. Supreme Court lang po. So pag naka-freeze order yan, tapos you want to question the freeze order, pumunta ka ngayon ng Supreme Court. Okay? Again, dito ang AMLC can examine bank deposits or investments so long as it has been suspected to be a suspicious transaction. Pero pag normal ka na tao, normal private individual, wala kang illegal transaction, and AMLC will go to your bank and inquire the bank deposit, hindi naman pwede yan kasi may bank secrecy tayo. No court order is needed to inquire into deposits related to specific offenses, blah, blah, blah. I already mentioned it a while ago. Alright? Next, Republic Act number 10365 that strengthened again the Anti-Money Laundering Act. Dito, nini-expand po ng batas ang definition ng covered persons. So dito kasali na po ang mga bangko or hindi bangko, insurance companies, security dealers, pati na yung jewelry dealers and company service providers. Kasali po sila sa requirement na magre-report. Okay? Then, it also clarified unlawful activities. So dito, dinidefine po ang unlawful activities as any act specifies various criminal activities that be constituted to be illegal. Under the anti-money laundering law, including kidnapping, drug trafficking, corruption, terrorism, and several others. New definition, the terms precious metal and precious stones are defined to include various valuable materials used in jewelry making. Pwedeng gold, pwedeng kahit ano. I am not very familiar. So, it can also be used as a way of laundering the money. Magbili ka ngayon ng gold. in order for the money to be clean. Okay? And then you make jewelries thereof. So, isinali po yan under Republic Act number 10365 rather. Alright? Money laundering offenses, in 10365, it expands the definition of money laundering to include acts such as converting, concealing, or disguising the proceeds of the unlawful activities, as well as the failure to report. Okay? Kaya nga, dapat magre-report ka. Kasi pag hindi ka nakapag-report, gagawin ka ngayong facilitator ng money laundering. Prosecution and penalties. Individuals can be prosecuted for both money laundering and the underlying unlawful activity. For short, pag ang pera is galing sa droga, dalawa yung krimen mo. Violation of 9165, the Comprehensive Dangerous Drug Act, at the same time, violation ng money laundering. Okay? So, hindi po ma-absorb yung sa drugs. Hindi ma-absorb. Iba yung kaso sa drugs, iba din po yung sa money laundering. Alright? Next, Anti-Money Laundering Council, the law strengthens the AMLC, authorizing it to freeze assets suspected of being related to unlawful activities and to require real estate transactions reports exceeding 500,000. Napakaklaro po niyan. Sunod, another law, Republic Act number 10927, another law that amends the Anti-Money Laundering Act. Dito po, isinali yung mga kasino. This act was issued to include casinos into the list of entities that are subject to the provisions and to include internet and ship-based casinos under the Anti-Money Laundering Act of 2001. Now, it will only affect lahat po ng posta exceeding 500,000. There should be no problem as long as you can prove where the source of money comes from. Pero, pag hindi mo ma-prove po, ang laki-laki ng posta mo, you cannot prove to the court na, or you cannot prove to the casino na ito po ang legal source ng pera, then it will be subject for reporting. Alright? So, ano po ba ang epekto sa dito sa casino owners? Dapat again, magre-report siya ng transaction of 500,000 or more to the Anti-Money Laundering Council. Casinos also must implement risk management policies to curb illegal activities and be prepared for an audit that would require records of their players for the last 5 years para makita doon kung sino yung sugarol. Para at least makita kung magkano po yung pinusta and saan galing po yung mga posta na yan. Because of this, casino owners must now keep more detailed records of their players and are no longer allowed to accept. Nung una, aliases yan eh. Boy sunog. Di ba? Yung mga ganyan. Boy sunog. Ang nanalo is si Boy sunog. But in reality ngayon, yung mga alias-alias na yun, yung mga pseudonyms na yan, hindi na po pwede. Dapat po ang casino will have a detailed record about your background. Kung saan ka nakatira, kung ano yung trabaho mo, ano yung source of income mo, so on and so forth. Okay? Yun po mga kadete ang lahat ng topics under this subject. Maraming salamat po sa pag-avail, sabi ko yun sa lahat ng nag-avail. And then, maraming salamat din po sa pag-share. Share nyo po and then wag po kayong mag-skip ng ads para at least makapag-generate po tayo ng revenue sa YouTube channel natin. Maraming salamat mga kadete. Tandaan natin always yung tiwala natin sa Diyos at saka yung tiwala natin sa sarili. Yun po ang susi natin para papasa po tayo sa board examination. Maraming salamat and God bless everyone.